Welcome to our webinar today on how AI, conversational intelligence, and Sales CoPilot can help you do in CRM. I will be your host. I am Chris Cognetta. I'm a CTIO and founder here at congruentX. I'm also one of your Microsoft Dynamics MVPs, specialized both in Power Platform, Azure AI, infrastructure, a little bit of everything. Been through all the UGs, the summit boards, the programming committees. So you probably have heard or seen a session from me in the past. If not, welcome. Glad to have you on the call today. And then just some links of what we're known for. You can follow up on those after as well. So today we're going to start off with a quick little poll. Then we're going to take an AI journey because it's important for you guys to understand about AI. A lot of people talk about AI, but they really don't know what it is. So we're going to educate you a little bit on it. And then we're going to talk about why salespeople don't like CRM. And I see there's some salespeople on the phone, so we'll see if they nod in occurrence. We're going to talk about the copilots, and it's copilot everywhere it seems, but we really want to show some real world numbers that we're seeing from the copilots, and then talk about the art of the possible with DialoguePrime and give you a quick little intro of what DialoguePrime does, and then we'll save some time from open Q&A. As always, the chat window's open. You can come off mic if you have a question. And we really want to have an interactive session with you guys today. This is for you, so let's make it that way. So we're going to start off with a poll today, and Tasha is going to mirror that in Teams so you can see the poll. But basically, how do you use AI today in your business today? Have you used ChatGPT on the website to build an article? Did you look at Sales or Microsoft's Copilot? Do you have it installed today? Do you use the Bing search capabilities that have OpenAI involved, or maybe another brand like Google Bard or some of the IBM stuff, or another reason? And again, just noting that if you use these sites may use the data that you put in their trained models. So you want to be careful about asking a ChatGPT or one of these other things direct on their websites about any business information that you don't want possibly shared. So let's take a quick look at the poll results. And it looks like a lot of you have used ChatGPT. 20% or so have used Copilot, which is really cool. 6% on Bing and 6% on other. Our next poll question is, do you think AI will replace you? This seems to be a topic that most people who are learning in the space are concerned about. Let's see how you guys think. So it looks like we're over 65 or 64% on no, which will be correct, right? And we'll talk about the naming itself and why it's called Copilot. And then finally, do you think AI is a fad? Do you think it's going to go away? Do you think it's here to stay? What do you guys think? Nice, 100% no. So I don't even have to sell you guys on why AI is important. It's funny how that question has changed from the beginning of whether or not AI can really be used in the business. My standpoint is this: if you think about e-commerce back in the day, they had a division that worked on internet, right? A division that worked on sales and focused on that, but the rest of the business didn't do it. So today you're starting to see that with AI being incorporated in different functions and departments. But eventually AI will go away. It'll just be a part of our everyday scenario and won't be called out. So, and I do not believe it's a fad. I do see real world examples, and hopefully we can share some of those with you today. So let's move on here and let's talk about AI. So there's a big shift happening in the world today with software. And really, when they used to talk about software is going to change the world or eat the world, make things easier. In this seismic shift, now AI is actually going to eat software where it can think about things and deliver things that we haven't seen before. A great example of this is Microsoft's GitHub and the fact that it's a code repository of where you're coding and writing code. Well, as you're coding and writing that code can be shared in the Codex model, which is one of the AI models. while you're using that model, it can identify patterns that match other code that other people have and make suggestions back to you to say, well, you could write this code like this, or better yet, I have a sample code. Would you want to import it? And by using another piece of code that's maybe already been deployed, you would gain a huge level of impact in that code, meaning that it's already been tested, it's already been deployed, people are already using it. So the credibility or the impact level is better for you when you deploy it. So that's just one example how AI is eating other software. And why is this possible? It's possible due to these large scale foundation models. You all have heard of ChatGPT, which is powered by OpenAI. There's ChatGPT, GPT-4. There's these other ones out there. A lot of you are probably playing with DALL-E, which is the image creator. Some funny things, as you know, do you know that by creating one of those images, it uses the same amount of power to charge your cell phone? Some really cool things are starting to show by using these, but these are just an example of them. And really, you know, one of the things I like to talk about is why now, right? Why is this different now? And if you look at it in the past, when we wanted to build these models had to train on data. Where did they get that data? They were getting it from books. They were getting it from libraries. They were getting it from things that they could scan and they can work on, right? With the internet, now there's a big amount of data that's searchable and indexable on the internet. It takes a ton of compute to pull it all together, but that's why these LLMs are available today, because you can get access to all of that data. And that training data and that model is really what makes your model smart or intelligent, because of what it knows. And there's a new school of thought or new training that most of you are doing that don't even know it, but it's called prompt engineering. And how you get a response out of a model has a lot to do with how you prompt that model. And you'll hear about people talking, oh, well, I asked the AI model to do this and I asked it to do that, and it came back with all of these things that were either, there's a word called hallucinations, where it doesn't really, it's not valid, or it made up something. And really that goes back to how you prompt the model, right? So if you don't prompt it or give it guidelines, it'd be like you telling a 2-year-old, hey, go clean up the dishes, without giving it specific instructions. Imagine what the kitchen looks like. That's the kind of response you're going to get. So by changing your prompts and doing that engineering, both in creating images or documents or even getting answers, you're starting to see where that prompt engineering skill will be an everyday skill relatively soon. So make sure you add it to your LinkedIn resume so you know that you guys are in AI. So, you know, if I'm prompting the engine today and I ask it about, I climbed an apple tree, for example, I'm just going to tell me that I picked an apple. It's really common sense, because what it's doing is it's looking at, well, you have an apple tree, so obviously you picked an apple. But if I said I climbed a tree, it may say I picked an apple, or it may say I picked a pear. It really just depends on how the AI wants to respond. It will not respond the same way every single time. And we learn that through the training data and the model that's associated with that. By the way, there are some models that you've heard about. Microsoft just announced that the Sales CoPilot solutions and all the copilots have been moved up to ChatGPT or GPT-4 models right now. You can follow this link. We'll post it out later, but this lets you see the models and the dates. And why the dates are important is because the models are only as good as what's in them. Most models today are only trained up to 2021. So if you go into the model today and ask it about Queen Elizabeth, it still thinks she's alive and well. But we do know that Queen Elizabeth is no longer with us. It's just that that event is not in the model. In relatively recent, what they're doing now is they're combining the model with searching the Bing index or the Google indexes to compare the model results with what has come out of the system. Meaning that it can do a web search at the same time it's looking at its model. And now you'll start to see things like, well, in my up to my date, Queen Elizabeth may be dead. However, I found recent articles that said she's dead on this particular day. So live to death by it looking at current articles and events. And that's a new thing we're seeing in the model is how they're trying to bring that information to be current. And new training models will be happening up to April 2023. They're all underway right now. You can imagine this expansive compute that's out there trying to make that happen. I was talking about hallucination, and here's a great example. So I say, write a biography of Harold Bloomsberg, the inventor of shake weight, and include references, and boom, I get all this information about Harold Bloomsberg, his birthday. He was an inventor, very, very detailed information, including links to biography.com. But guess what? Harold doesn't even exist. There is no product called shake weight. And there's certainly no references. So, but what did I tell it to do? I told it to write a biography. I didn't say, go find Harold Bloomsberg and give me his biography, did I? So again, prompt engineering and grounding of these models is how you get different answers and different expectations coming in. And it's no different with your business data. So what can AI do? It can generate text, images, code. It can act like a human in responding to some things. It can look up information very fast. It's very creative, right? But it's not intelligent. And it's certainly not deterministic based on getting a different answer from the same prompt. And then finally, they're definitely not grounded. So if you don't give it the proper information, you're going to get information that it looks real, but it's not. So another thing it does not understand is it doesn't understand language or facts. Can it translate language? Absolutely. A fact, you know, when you're thinking about somebody who wrote an article on the website, there may be several articles. Think about a political article, for example, that there's different of opinions, but the system doesn't understand any of the details of that opinion or why one's important or not. So these are things you need to look at when you're thinking about deploying generative AI and understanding what does it really know. All right, so let's take a quick test. I'm just joking, but wanted to like keep you guys on your toes here, right? So what we've learned so far is that AI does have limitations that are controlled both the model data and prompting. You still need a human to review and input and look at data that's being done by AI. You just can't let it run by itself. And hallucinations can definitely be a bad experience, giving the user a perception that the AI doesn't work when it really was related to how they prompted. We talked about how AI is not a fad. And really, if you're talking to somebody, whether it's your lunch table, your neighbor outside, or even on a plane or bus, everyone's talking about how they use it. This is how we know that it's mainstream tech today. And absolutely, we can use AI to reduce competitive tasks, add to the quality of things, provide answers to help your business, and give you insights that you may not see because you simply don't have the time. So the key to success is the data, the context, and the prompting. So why salespeople don't like CRM, and this is one of my favorite ones. And if you take a second and look at the pros and cons here, I think we all know them, right? Some of them are around the fact that, hey, I don't need somebody watching me or looking at my pipeline data. This is my favorite one is this is my customer and it's my relationship. So I don't need to put the data in the system, or I don't have time to do it. I'm busy. I'm on the road going from client to client. I don't have the time to add it, to follow up, to put notes. And I'm really not getting any value of entering in that data. I still got to do my follow-ups. I still got to understand the system's not helping me win that deal. I'm on my cell phone or I write it in a black book. For those of you that remember black books, it may be a little bit north of 60s. You know, that was a very common practice. But these are the challenges of why people don't want to use the CRM, although the pros are there as well. So what if your CRM could work like Alexa or Siri in your house today? And I apologize if your devices are all going off right there and then, right? But shouldn't, and our CEO, Chuck Ingram, says this all the time, why can't we use the tech that we do in our homes and our lives, our smartphones. You know, you tell, you say, hey, next time I go to Home Depot, remind me to buy 2 2x4s. You walk in, your alarm goes off on your phone and says, hey, you're at Home Depot, buy 2 2x4s. Why can't it do that for your clients? Your salesperson walks in and it says, you're in the parking lot of Home Depot store 536, and here's all the details about that account. Why do they have to search? Why do they have to go try to figure out the details and maybe go through 5 or 6 different screens to do that when we absolutely know the information and can show it to them? And we are doing things like this at congruentX for some customers, like I just mentioned with the Home Depot app. It's a giant success. So can I use conversations that I'm having to actually provide me summaries to me, the customer, to my account? And does it help me increase wins with following up? We know that by responding to a client within the same day, right after the meeting, and getting a summary of, here's what we talked about, here's our next steps, you've made that client feel special, right? You've made them have that connection with you. Did you do anything to do that? If you were a salesperson, you had to stop, take all the notes, figure all that out. Are you really paying attention on the call when you're writing down? How many of you have been on a call and, you know, 20 other people join the call that you don't even know who they are? So the first thing a salesperson does is he's writing down all of those names. What if the system could already take all those names for you, add them in as contacts, and they're already in your account? That salesperson, knowing that, would be more focused on the call instead of writing down who are all the players. So this is another example of how we're able to do these things, but also how can it help me? Do we have a process or something that I should be following to be successful? Is it a framework? You know, is it like Winning by Design or SCAD? Is it any of those type of frameworks that I'm following? Or did we create a sales process that's very successful? We all have a salesperson that sells excellent, their process. What if I could take that person's process, run it through these systems in AI, and then help the rest of my other team mentor and follow along in that process? So now they're all selling that way. Wouldn't that increase my revenue X times? All of these things are capable and probable today. So Microsoft Sales CoPilot is the first step towards working towards these things. And not only since this presentation has it just been renamed to Microsoft Copilot for Sales, but they're really trying to get away from Copilot for Teams, Copilot for Windows, Copilot for Office, Copilot for Dynamics. Just going to be Copilot, right? So you won't know which one you have. And that means that's good. You don't want to have to know which one it is. For IT people, you're probably going to be installing or using that information and have different components and pieces, but you won't have to refer to it through different names. It'll just be one Copilot. And assuming as the future moves forward, they'll also be able to share context between them. So when I'm in the Outlook system and I'm looking up something, I may get a different response than what I'm getting when I'm looking at the CRM, but hopefully because they're all doing that same look at the record from a context, I'll be able to get back more of that data. So these tools are designed to integrate with Dynamics or Salesforce. So if you're a Salesforce user, this is not just a Microsoft conversation. And in the future, they're looking to extend that, but it's integrated with your Outlook because that's where people work, right? A huge percentage of people not only use Outlook as their productivity tool, but they also use a CRM. Just switching back and forth between the two apps is a huge times consumption of jumping in and out of Outlook to update and notate those items. These systems are designed to eliminate that, hence giving you instant productivity and results. Well, we are seeing 6 to 7 hours a week savings for salespeople that are using these tools to help them reduce these common tasks and to help them stop switching apps. So let's talk about a little bit how it works. So, and I'm not watching the questions window, Tasha. So if you see something, can you shout it out so we can help answer any questions or not? That would be great. So here you're inside of Outlook. You'll notice that there's an email here. I'm able to look at my Sales CoPilot add-on, and I'm able to see a summary of that entire email thread. Who gets an email when if you're in management, you're probably getting that email when it's been through 20 different replies, right? And then, hey, can you help me with this? So now it takes me 45 minutes to read that email to understand it. That's gone now. Now I can actually see a summary of the entire email thread of everything that was said, what actions we're taking, and what I can do. So the context of the email, the summary of it, as well as previous meetings is huge. Another scenario is I typed in a particular name of a customer or a contact. It can actually go out and connect to your Dynamics or your Salesforce system and tell you right off the bat whether they're a contact or not. And if they are a contact, you will see that information about that customer right inside of the detail. So in this case, I was typing out an email and I was sending an email to Abby Torres. And you can see right here, it already knows that Abby Torres is a part of reemployability. She's the director of IT. It also shows that I've got an open opportunity about that, as well as account information. And I'm also able to click and edit this information, maybe update a phone number, maybe fill out a particular field that's a part of my sales process. And all of those panels for those entities, or tables as they're called today, are available for me to make changes and updates, including custom entities, and adding those there as well. On the left side here, you'll see the ability to save that email. So I create that email, but maybe I want to track this particular email, so I can press save, and that email will end up in my Dynamics or Salesforce system. By the way, the only difference that you see between a Salesforce and a Dynamics system is the name right here. It just says Salesforce. The same type of functionality, the same features are there, and it's really what these systems are doing is they're connecting to the web interface, just like the browser's doing, right? So it's acting just like your user. You log in and it's able to do that. I think I mentioned earlier about how I could see multiple meetings. So maybe the information I need is in a previous meeting. I can go back and look at that meeting and see the summary of that meeting as well. And again, another cool feature is the ability to integrate with Teams. So if you're using Teams to correspond about data for this particular client or a channel, I can easily connect to that team just by knowing that that email address is a team member. So now you can see that the experiences between Outlook, your CRM, and your Teams are all integrated, and all integrated with the meetings that you're having. So huge power to be able to help you work through the day. With one of our add-ons that we have with DialoguePrime, gives you the ability to both record and use playbooks. And this is a really important feature that I'll come back to towards the end, but I wanted to call it out here because when you create a meeting, Sales CoPilot can actually record that meeting. And there's a new update that's available from Microsoft that actually lets you do transcriptions of meetings without recording them. So in the right-hand side, if you guys are on side of Teams here, you will see that there's a record and transcribe button up in the window under the ... more. If you click on that and look at the transcript, you can actually see the transcript being done as I go by. And I'm just going to show it to you there so you guys can see it running and see that transcript. So I can now achieve the ability to grab transcript and data without actually recording the call. So at the end of this call, the call itself, the video, the person talking, all of that is gone. But now I can actually still get the transcript. So this is a big conversation of topic of recording calls. Are you technically recording the call or not? You're not, because it's not being saved and it can't be replayed. However, you could be taking notes just like I'm taking notes. And that's a great example of how these tools can be used. So you get that capability with Sales CoPilot and the ability to record your meetings that are made from Teams. What we've done now is giving you the ability to identify contextually what type of meeting this is. So you join a sales call. It may be the first time you talk to a customer. It may be the time that you're presenting something to a customer. And this is related to sales. It could be related to customer service. It could be related to a warehouse or a delivery team. But the ability to run these playbooks for specific calls allow you to make sure that things are said. So, for example, on a first call as a salesperson, what would you need to ask? Obviously, you're going to do an intro of your company, who you are, but you want to listen to the customer. What are their pain points and challenges that they're having, right? You also want to know, do they have a budget? And also, what is their timeline? If you didn't have that information, how would you rate that opportunity? You'd give it thumbs down, right? Why is it in my pipeline being predicted as a closed deal when they didn't even ask these questions? We don't even know the budget or timeline. So these playbooks can look at these conversations as the transcript and details are coming and then rate a person on that call. And we'll show you some more about that as we talk about the art of possibility. But this is another way that we're able to change how you're working today. How much information is locked away in that business call that never ends up into your system or is never played back and only understood by the person using the system? At CongruentX, we're actually able to take the sales calls and pass them off to our delivery team members who can then read those calls and understand what the deal was about. So when they're online talking to the customer, the actual feedbacks from customers has been, hey, your team felt like they knew us. They knew what we talked about. And it's just an amazing experience that brings that coordination together, again, all with AI and conversational intelligence. Inside of Teams, when you hit the plus icon, you can now see the ability to execute the CoPilot. And this is great for sharing information back and forth. So in this case, I wanted to share the Toastmasters account with Robin. And I just typed in Toastmasters and up pops the detail, whether it's in Dynamics 365 or Salesforce, things that are going on, their revenue, and I can just press send and Robin will get the link to the record and all the details so she can just open it really quick, right? Just another cool capability that's available. Here, after you record a call, Sales CoPilot will pop up a meeting. And there's a channel out there that you can pin. I like to pin it so I know what's going on. And then it'll show a list of all your meetings. And inside there, you simply press open summary. And now you'll get the highlights and the details from that call. Any follow-up actions, positive and negative sentiment, as well as the transcript. And this data is really important for you to be able to use in your organization. One big problem is, though, that this information is not in your CRM system. So from a pipeline perspective and the data that you gathered, it's useful that you can see it, but what can you do with it? So unlocking that intelligence and seeing this data in your phone calls is really where we're headed. So the results so far that we're seeing, I mentioned that there's a 67% impact on an opportunity when you follow up within 2 to 3 hours, the same day of the call, instead of waiting to when you had a glow down on Thursday to follow back up. You made the customer feel special. And then also the ability of not switching back and forth between CRM and Outlook. The data is where I work. I can see those summaries. I can respond faster. I'm getting 6 to 7 hours a week time savings just in that. And then the ability to look into these calls and see intelligence. And we're just at the infancy of doing this with data and calls. So the data's there and I want to use it, but I want to use it to manage my pipeline in CRM. And that's where we jump into the art of possible. And the art of possible is really looking at the tools that you're seeing here. You have them in your platforms. And if you don't have them, they work with your platform. So if you're already using Microsoft 365, whether you're on Salesforce or Dynamics, you absolutely can leverage these services and capabilities against that without having to move your CRM or without changing that deployment. And this is where you can take the next steps to automate your business, including the ability to give you an edge. And you can do all of this while your sales team's not doing CRM, DialoguePrime, which is the name of the solution, is actually behind the scenes adding or lighting up your CRM like never before. So let's give you a quick little overview of DialoguePrime. And again, anybody on the call would like a call back from our sales team to help, or me to talk about how we can put DialoguePrime. I mean, it works across every industry, and you guys will quickly see how we can use it in every group in your team to help give you a competitive edge. So the first thing it does is it presents a sales dashboard. This is a Power App running inside of CRM. It could be in CRM, it could be on your mobile device, and it could be right on your Windows desktop. Inside of here, you can see calls that you've made. You can see conversations that are going on, what I've been scored on. I can search for calls by topic. I can see my next upcoming call. And through gamification, I can see how I'm doing against other people in the sales organization. So you're a salesperson, you may go call to call to call. You may have forgot who you called today. And if you're using traditional CRM, there's no way to see where all those calls are without doing an advanced find to find it, or having a chart or building something. So this gives you a quick at a glance, everything on my dashboard. Then it unlocks, we talked about the gamification and knowing, and I don't necessarily agree that this guy, Mike Hauk, is #1 here, but that's what the data shows, so I'll have to go by it. Shout out to Mike, who's on the call today. But anyways, the ranking is used by how well people are doing on the calls, and you can tell that, you know, based on the number of calls, Mike's in the #1 position. This is a great way to create competition in between your team. We've also married a relationship framework by an author, JC Quintana, who works with congruentX in regards to this element of relationships. And we've brought that 7 elements into the model. So this, what does it do? It teaches you how to have better relationships with your prospects and your customers. So by having a better score and understanding how to get better at that score, that mentoring aspect helps you build better relationships. And we all know that better relationships equal more sales. The more you know that customer, the better you are at being able to interact with them. And there's a cheat code, right? Let's look at that relationship. Let's understand and mentor us on how to get better. And the system does it automatically based on the phone calls that you're making. So strong relationships, more sales. So we talked about the call being hosted in Teams, and now you can see that not only have we taken the call details, but we've greatly enhanced the experience of what you get from the CoPilot scenario into what our engine brings with DialoguePrime. One great example of this is not only knowing who joined the call and who's the organizer of the call, but also the type of question they asked. So if you're selling to somebody and they're not asking engaging questions, and that means that they're not interested. And you can see this in the fact that in talking to Catherine, she had 0 engaging and 2 total questions. Well, Catherine was just the organizer of the call, but I may want to drill down into somebody else on the call to find that. I can do that. I can also see, did I pause and allow people to speak? Or as I'm on a technology demo, I tend to talk really fast. So in this case, Catherine was talking really fast. These are all insights and visual indicators to help mentor your team on getting better. And I can quickly send an email, pop a phone call from Teams, or open up that contact record right from here without having to go search and find the record, find the contact. All of those steps gone just by being able to see the call here. I can also search the transcript. I can see the positive and negative sentiment of that. And I can do a lot more because this data is now in my CRM. So that opens up all of the data that you see to your Power Platform, your Power BI, and some other things that we've built as well. So you guys have the ability to extend upon the solution as well. One great example is how we bring the recap. And while you get a recap from the Microsoft system, this recap has been greatly enhanced. And you can see the level of detail I get of the summary of the call, who is on the call, What were the topics discussed on the call? And what were the pain points that happened during the call? Somebody asked me, could we add budgeting into this? Absolutely, right? You can add in these type of playbooks to understand what's happening inside that call and pretty much look at it from any type of business measurement that could be set on a phone call and pull it back out and then leverage it in your process through flows, through review of the cases. Another thing we did is we get a lot of people asking us, how do I use GPT type capability against my own data? In this case, we have an AI playground where you simply go to the GPT tab and you can use these pre-canned prompt right here. So I have prompts that are pre-canned for mentoring me, how the profile was, are they quiet or not, was it a good deal, is the customer engaged? And if I press the button, it just writes the prompt for me, I submit, and it'll evaluate that phone call and the entire context of that phone call to see if the customer was engaged or not. So now as a sales manager and a salesperson, I can tell whether or not the customer is engaged. I also can tell what's their personality. What are they, a blue or gold? Are they buying on emotions? Or are they more driven down? And Mike and Robin are probably laughing because I know blue and gold is maybe not emotions, but you get my point. It's a personality trait. So if you could detect based on conversations what type of personality that person is, you could then sell to them at that level. So again, these are configurable, so you can change them to be what's important to you. So you can click a button, or you can simply erase that one and type in what you want to prompt or what you want to ask and get answers really quick about your call. So another great thing about the call, and you can set this up to be both your internal team or for everyone. Right now, we send it out to our internal team, but as well do other customers. However, you may want to send it automatically. And what this is an AI-powered email that comes out after that call. And it breaks out all the detail of the call. You can adjust and modify the format as needed, but this gets your team up to speed. So there's no, hey, send me the link to that, send me the detail. They can see it right there. They also have the ability to go into DialoguePrime and listen and watch the phone call as well. And this can easily be sent to the customer by clicking forward and saying, hey, I just want to send you a recap of our call today. Here's all the detail. It's very easy for the salesperson to do it. And again, the ability to turn that on automatically so that everyone on the call will get that is a capability. We've decided not to. We decided that we wanted the person involved in there to look at it, make sure everything's 100%. Maybe there's something that we didn't add in there or the AI did not catch, and give me the opportunity to correct it. So again, I don't have to spend hours creating a summary. It just appears after my call. And by the way, this works for not only teams, but it also works if you join a third party. So if you're not hosting the meeting and somebody else is hosting the meeting, this has a bot capability that will join that call on your behalf and do the same thing. It can work with WebEx, it can work with Zoom, and it can work with Google Meet. So it allows you to take of external meetings that may be hosted by somebody else. You can also record those. I talked about lighting up CRM. So what does it do for me inside of CRM as well? Well, the first thing it does is that whether it's an account or opportunity, it's going to add that call right into that record. So now no longer having to go into the opportunity record to say I made this call to this person. The call is already there with all of the detail, all the knowledge, that information, and by clicking on the little third icon here, you're able to open up the DialoguePrime information and see it right inside the detail. In regards to the activities, you're also seeing activities lit up inside of CRM based on the actual conversations that are being recorded to the records. So now I can go in and I can see who's making phone calls on my teams and what are they calling about. So this is how we're able to take this data, light up the CRM like never before, and now CRM actually starts working because data's in it. So, and this is just a small top tip of the iceberg of things that we're able to do here. So moving forward, We also have a mentor screen capability that from a screen perspective, we're able to see in the individual call how to get better for that call. It may be the talking speed, it may be the monologue, the switches per call. All of those capabilities are available in here to show and mentor the salesperson, the delivery team lead, the sales manager, how to get better. Of course, you can't have the detail and reporting without having the dashboard. The dashboard capabilities show you all of the reporting based on the calls, the plays that have been executed, and how well I did. So I can actually look at that first call that we were talking about and see which steps in the process that they were doing, as well as who is using it and how they were scored. This allows us to learn more about what's happening. And there's an example here of a call where I may be looking at a budget. I can enter in all of these keywords and it can search from a budget. And after that call's done, I actually can trigger a flow. So if this is the first call for a customer, or in this case, a proposal call, maybe I want to move the opportunity from stage one of qualified to now discovery, or I want to move it from discovery into proposal because I had a proposal call. I can simply go in, create unlimited Power Automate flows that I can call, and the DialoguePrime will call simply by adding it to the action, press update, and now the salesperson doesn't even have to move the opportunity in its particular stage. So a lot of power unlocked in there. And unlike our competitors, you have to train AI keywords for over 500 times before you could use them. Well, I'm sorry, I don't have 500 phone calls to wait to get intelligence. This works directly right off the bat and makes that happen. So finally, around DialoguePrime, you have all these different capabilities that are here. You can unlock that intelligence behind the phone calls. We talked about mentoring. It's not a big brother. It's a mentor to help you get better, both in relationships as well as actionable data that you can hit with the Power Platform and get insights like you've never seen before, and lighting up that CRM so your salesperson is not updating the opportunity, not putting the notes, not doing those things. Create contacts on your behalf, as we talked about, the summaries, the ability to join calendar invites automatically by looking at your calendar and just join calls on your behalf to record those calls. Recording calls that you don't host, calls that are located outside your tenant, as well as storing data. Data is a big challenge with Dynamics as well as Salesforce in regards to price. Well, we don't have to store it there. We can show it in Azure and still let you get to it with Power Apps and Power BI and Azure Cognitive Services. Secured in Azure OpenAI, which means that your data does not leave your system. It's a ability to not have your data shared in other training models and really protect your stuff by using the Microsoft OpenAI process. And DialoguePrime is one of the first apps that uses that connection directly there. And bringing GPT capabilities into your data. You see it on calls today. We'll be adding additional feature capabilities that maybe you'll see it around, how's this account doing? Or what's my opportunity at? It just keeps growing almost sometimes on a weekly basis. That's how fast these things are moving forward. And we talked about gamification, but the real power is in the playbooks and the ability to create your process, create an understanding like the first call, the last call, or a delivery process or a customer experience process, and have the system listen and score those models so that you can understand how you're doing. Are you following that process or not, and how you can get better? And that's really where the intelligent process monitoring comes in, being able to show you that, and not only you, but also your mentoring your sales team or your other teams on how to get better. So that's just some quick highlights of DialoguePrime and how it can help you really in any industry by helping your CRM team not do CRM and using AI along with the data that you have today to really make a big difference. So I'd like to open it up right now if there's any questions. If you guys have any questions, I'd love to sit around and talk to you guys about it. And we're here to talk to you. You may not be ready for all of this. We can turn on bits and pieces. We can deploy copilots. We can work through a particular sales process. You can head out we have both GetSalesCopilotRight.com. That will show you our ROI calculator that'll allow you to plug in the number of salespeople, how much money they make per year, and actually get an ROI that you can go off to deploy these solutions. And these things happen fast. We're talking a 4 to 5 week implementation process. This is not drawn out over months. It's not hundreds of thousands of dollars to implement. And it starts at $35 a month. So really excited to get this out to you, our clients, customers, and explain and show it. But obviously, the key of this conversation was how we're using AI, how we're using it today, and how you can use it to extend your business. So I don't see any questions right now, but I do want to take a moment to thank you for coming to today's webinar. And from the congruentX team, we also like to wish you Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody. Thank you, and we'll talk to you soon on the next webinar. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.